Man, what's going on, yo? Let's see here. I'm still getting used to the whole going live and all that, but if you guys want to get in, I already sent out a few invites. In this one, I'm going to be talking about yeah, I don't want to hear my voice. So I don't want to do anything like that. What I'm going to be talking about right now is men, us as men, right? For those who get on the live, come on, get in the live. I'm actually trying to figure out how to do the whole background. I had a whole little thing set up, but I'm trying to figure out how to actually do a background here. But welcome to the live. I appreciate it. I really do. Really, really do. Appreciate you guys watching the live and everything. So, yeah, and still, I'm going to go ahead and get this started. The first topic I want to get on, since I can't really seem to get this situated, I'm really new to this whole going live on TikTok and whatnot. But the first topic I want to talk about is Wednesday. We all trying to get through the middle of the week, and I just got done with a conversation or another live open debate where there was a whole lot of people who just don't seem to understand the actual point of being couth and having debates. And when I initially joined this live, they was just straight going ham. Especially this one chick, her name was Call Me Something. Then they had another dude on there that I was actually arguing with named Gaslight, G-A Slight, but he go by Gaslight. So the topic was, why do men want to be chased, like women when it comes to relationship statuses and things like that, right? And as I'm sitting here listening to the debate, it was more or less from what I was hearing into my level of comprehension. It was more or less depicting how women were considering men as jealous for chasing after a woman, and men considered the women to be shallow, for lack of better terms, and things like that, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm trying to keep this live up and running for as long as I can. But what I'm going to do is, first thing I want to talk about is validation being a drug, because I really want to strip down the human psychology behind this. This isn't really about men wanting to be chased like women. It's about validation, ego, attachment, power dynamics, whatever else you can think of, right? So the first thing I want to speak on actually is validation. Now, you see it all over your social media timelines, whatever kind of platform you're on, right? You see the girl who considers herself a baddie, or she's extremely beautiful, right? And she has all these different pictures posted online talking about, just getting all this different attention, right? Just talking about whatever, saying that she's valuable. And things like that. Same thing can go for men. They post the body shots, they post the cars, the money. Men do the same thing. And what that does, that attention triggers with a dopamine. And the dopamine is what the brain reward chemical. Yeah, I just want to make sure I had that right. So dopamine is the brain's reward chemical, right? When someone chases you, your brain registers, oh, I'm valuable. Oh, I'm seen as somebody who's wanted. Oh, I'm seen as somebody who's needed. I'm seen as somebody who's loved. I'm seen as someone who's cared about. And that feeling in itself is very addictive. Now, don't get me wrong. A majority of men who get chased, we are socialized to chase. So when that whole entire script flips and someone pursues them, it can feel novel and ego boosting, right? Novelty and validation is a fucking chemical cocktail, if you fucking ask me, man. And I'm sitting back and I'm looking at this after I'm sitting here listening to this debate on this live panel. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you can't really be serious, because you're sitting here saying that this is a biology meeting social conditioning, is what it sounds like. So even still, there was another gentleman who got up on the live. He was sitting there talking about, hey, what's going on, y'all? Thanks for joining the live. There was another gentleman who got up on here. You guys can join the live. I would love to hear your thoughts and comments on this as well. Another guy got up on here, and he was sitting here talking about how women needed to be placed in a competition to compete for a man's love, and which is the whole sense of men are more rare than valuable than women are, which is statistically true. Women outnumber men as of right now. Anything that is considered to be less accessible is considered to be rare and valuable, which is why men are now considered to be the prize, because men are literally outnumbered by women. So, in other words, the gentleman was right about women competing for a man's love. But the downside about that is that power, because there is a power dynamic there, power feels safer than vulnerability. Make sure you guys share the live. Make sure you guys tap in, like the live. If you guys want to jump in, I'm more than happy to have an open panel discussion about this. But again, the power dynamic is because power feels safer than vulnerability. Now, men, we're told to not be vulnerable, because once us as men are vulnerable, we're 9 times out of 10 more likely to be hurt even more by someone that we are pursuing. And women tend to be in that same exact boat, right? So chasing requires exposure, which same thing as vulnerability. It all requires exposure. You risk the rejection, you risk getting hurt. And being chased keeps you emotionally protected, because you don't want to sit there and say, as the woman, as the man being chased, it keeps you emotionally protected, because you don't have to sit there and say, oh, well, I don't have to deal with you. I can go on about somewhere else. It's the same psychology that women use. It's the same exact thing that women do. Thank you for joining the live. If you have a comment from what I've been saying, you want to piggyback off of something, make sure to go on ahead and hop on in the live. I know the title said something about AI won't replace you. I'm going to talk about that a little later, but I want to talk about this first, because this was part of a debate that I was watching on TikTok live earlier, right? So being chased, just to continue on here, being chased keeps you emotionally protected, whether you're a man or a woman, because as of right now, I'm speaking on men being chased like they're women. And women do this. Women are the masters of this, if you ask me. Women will literally go out here, get chased by every Tom, Dick, and Harry, and will literally dub every Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes her way, and then sit there and wonder, why am I still alone? Why am I not being loved? Why is no one caring for me? You done literally turned away every dude that chased you. And men, same thing can be said for men. Men will literally sit here, have a woman chase them, and then wonder why they end up alone 30 at 50, 60, 70 years old. Because you out here want to be chased like a woman. I get it. I get it. As of right now, in today's modern statistics, in today's modern society, men are technically the prize as of right now. And the main reason is, I'm going to go back over this again because I said this earlier. The main reason why men are considered the prize is because women outnumber men. If anything in this world is considered to be rare or less accessible, it is considered to be valuable. It is considered to be the prize. So now, just to continue on with this, right? Some men prefer the psychological upper hand. We see this highly aspected in narcissistic people. And when I say narcissistic people, I mean people who have actually been diagnosed with narcissism. I'm not talking about the ones who just have narcissistic traits. I'm talking about those who have been actually diagnosed with narcissism. Some men, and statistically speaking, men are 9 times out of 10 more likely to be narcissistic than women, but women are a lot better at being narcissistic than men. But again, some men prefer the psychological upper hand, because if you're pursuing them, we don't have to reveal our full interest first. We don't. If a woman is chasing us as men, we do not have to reveal our full self-interest. We don't. There's less risk on our part, there's less ego damage on our part, and there's more control. This is something that women do. This is why a lot of women are now, like, for instance, when all this red pill podcast stuff came out, a lot of women went into an uproar, because now a lot of men have been out here saying that what they feel and how they're being treated, this, that, and the third. A lot of women have been in an uproar behind this. But that means that it's because control often masks insecurity. That's about when it comes to power, actually feeling safer than actually being vulnerable. And then not only that, you still have to deal with attachment styles as well. In psychology, attachment theory explains how people bond. People have avoidant attachments types. People have anxious attachment types. People have secure types. What this is when it comes to avoidant attachment, those types often enjoy being chased. You know, uh, for instance, this would be someone with abandonment issues. Obviously, they're going to be more avoidant and they're going to enjoy being chased. They're going to enjoy running off before they can even think about getting hurt because they can control that. They like attention, but they resist getting actually close enough to a person to actually let them in. And the anxious types, they do tend to chase. So, do I believe in Jesus? Do I believe in Jesus? Yes, I do believe in Jesus. I do believe in Jesus. I also believe in Satan. I believe in Buddha. I believe in the Krishna, the Vaharashna. I believe in all of that. I believe there's over 4,000. There's literally, before I get too far off topic, there's literally 4,000 to 10,000 religions out here. So Christianity is not just one that nah, LOL, you don't believe in Christ. I can honestly say you're probably one, the controversial Christian. I can honestly say you're probably one to sit there and say Jesus is God. But as a Muslim would say, give me one verse out of the Bible where it says Jesus claims to be God. And I'm not talking about the verse where he speaks on the Father and I am one, because Jesus was actually talking about, mind you, I studied theology. Jesus was actually talking about him sharing the same characteristics as God. So, we're not going to change this conversation up, but I will touch on this a little bit later. So, um, anxious types. What was I at? Anxious types. Anxious types. They tend to They tend to chase, right? So this is what people do. They tend to chase. Um, Not only that, you have the secure types. They reciprocate. If you're actually secure in yourself, you're going to reciprocate the energy that you're being given, whether it's good or bad. That's what you consider a clean energy. Now let me finish this last statement, controversial, and let me finish this last statement, and I'm gonna answer your question. When you see someone constantly needing pursuit but offering little in return, that's not what you would call romance. That's what you would call unrequited love. That's dysregulated attachment, playing out in real time. Now, characteristics. This is about your conversation about Christianity, obviously. Characteristics. How does one charge the same characteristics and not be said thing? How does one charge the same characteristics and not have said thing? Okay, I'm a little lost with that. All right, so in the Bible, I forget what actual chapter it was. Let's see. Which chapter was that? I want to say, obviously, it's New Testament. I don't know. Is it Matthew? I believe it was Matthew. I could be wrong. He does possess the characteristics and not be the same, not be that thing. But okay, so you're agreeing with me then. So you're saying, so what are you saying about Jesus? Are you saying that Jesus is God? Because you just proved my whole entire theory. So you're saying Jesus is God. You can get on here and speak if you want. You can hit the plus button and I can accept you in, bro. So you're saying Jesus is God, yes, by nature. Now, then you would have to consider every person that's walking on this earth to be a form of God. Everything that's living and breathing, everything that's not even living or breathing is a form of God then. Because if Jesus goes and says in the Bible, the Father and I am one. Even God says in the Bible, this was written in blood in some of the versions, that I am that I am. Up me, I can explain. Bro, just tap on the plus sign, bro. That's all you got to do. Because I do want to finish this what I'm saying about this whole men chasing women thing. I love any conversation, bro. Any of these conversations. Not that I'm looking for one. I really do want to finish this, but I would love to hear your take on this. Hit the plus sign, bro. Because if you're not going to hit the plus sign, then hey, can I invite you in? No, it's not even letting me invite you, bro. There you go. Who else wants to get in here? Master Demon. Okay, here we go. And Maxwell. All right. So what were you saying, sir or ma'am?
Oh, shoot.
Hold on, Maxito. I'm gonna mute you real quick.
Hmm?
Might have to mute you, Maxito.
Do I have to go?
Okay. All right. Well, see you later, then, Max.
All right, have a
Maxito.
good day.
It's a kid. What are you doing? It's 18 and over here, bro. All right. So controversial Christian. What were you saying? Your mic just muted, bro. What's going on? All right. So I'm gonna continue on then. So, what was the next thing? Where was I at? When you see someone constantly needing to be pursued, right? That is more or less offering little in return when it comes to romantic attachment styles. You know, and in itself, that is not romance. That's what you would call unrequited love, or a dysregulated attachment playing out in real time. And then from there, it's cool, bro. We can have this conversation later. As a matter of fact, what I'll do is I'm still going to invite you in. Still going to invite you in, but let me finish this last little bullet point right here, and I'll be done.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. So from men being chased like they're women, right? You also have to understand the cultural shift behind it. Modern dating has blurred roles. You know, social media has literally amplified the thought of having fucking options out here. And in reality, you really don't. And when someone feels that they have so many options out here, they sometimes sit back and let people compete. And in reality, you're going to end up sitting there being all alone when you're in your fit 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, however long the higher power lets you live. And then you still have to deal with the scarcity mindset, because the scarcity mindset, you know, which comes from the survival, which really stems from the survival mindset, that drives the pursuit. And abundance really feels like everything is being passive. So when it comes down to it, abundance is often an illusion curated by algorithms. Now, with that being said, I'm gonna finish this a little later. I have like one more bullet point, but I really want to get into this conversation with you, controversial Christian. So, yep, there you go. So, what were you saying, bro?
Yeah, so originally the reason that I even said anything about Jesus, bro, is because I was hearing you talk about like anxious people spending more, right?
Right.
And Jesus says that he's basically the cure for anxiety. So that's kind of how I'm tying the two together. But yeah, when I was asking you, how did you said that Jesus said that he was one with the Father, and you said that's because he shared the same characteristics. Um, I'm curious on how you would reason one that shares the same characteristics as the Most High, right? An invisible God, an immaterial God, but sharing the same characteristics. How can Christ not be that said thing if he's called the image of that one?
All right. So, when you think about characteristics, characteristics can mean anything, really. It can mean, hey, if I can see, the other person can see. If I can smell, the other person can smell. If I can hear, the other person can hear. This is what I mean by saying that Jesus shared the same characteristics as God. Because this is just from me having theological studies,
Mm-hmm.
that Jesus was obviously God's son from some sort of pregnancy done by Mary herself, where there was no actual real physical connection, no contraception. Some will refute that and say, well, hey, how can God have kids when he has never actually given birth to anybody?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really kind of that in itself is a contradiction in
Well,
itself.
I can explain it because we would say that Christ was here even before Mary. I would even tell you that Christ made himself in his own womb because Christ is God. That therefore he's an eternal person. But in Hebrews 1:3, it states a very specific thing. It calls Christ the radiance or the brightness of God, right?
Right.
So if we're looking at this and we're thinking the radiance, and I ask you, how can you separate the radiance from the thing which is radiant? What would be your response?
Well, what's the opposite of radiant? Something dark,
Well,
something abysmal.
exactly. And we would never say that God was at one time lacking his radiance, right?
I would have to disagree with that
Well,
because,
then God changes,
well, yes, God does change
but
because,
God doesn't change. He says it.
but here's the thing: if God doesn't change, why is the only thing consistent on this realm
Th-
in this realm that we live in is change?
Well, this is the thing, brother. If do you believe that for one to be God, it must be eternal and having no ending, no beginning,
That I would consider that to be immortal, but not God.
immortal but not God? Can you
Yeah,
name something that's immortal that has no beginning and no ending that isn't God?
energy,
Energy has no beginning or no ending,
absolutely none.
and what does it create?
Uh, anything that you can possibly think of.
Anything that you can possibly think of. So does something produce energy?
Personally, I would have to say yes. What creates energy
Hmm.
would be. Let me think.
Does okay, here's a better one. Does energy have the potential to become something or do something?
If you place it in a form, I would believe so. Yes.
That would be a change. Therefore, energy is not eternal because it changed. Something to be eternal cannot have change. It has to be eternal, the same forever and ever.
Okay. So, but we're talking about forms. So that means
We're
if
not
God
talking
doesn't
about
change,
forms because
then
God
how
doesn't
is
have a
it?
form.
If God is eternal, He doesn't change
Hmm.
whatsoever. How is it that things here change? How is it that He
Because
is able to? How is it that He's able to change anything then?
but he doesn't do the changing. It's cause and effect, but that's because we're in time. We it's not like God's not spatially located. He doesn't. He's immaterial. He's outside of existence. So it would be hard for something that's immaterial necessarily doesn't quote unquote exist um, to share the same characteristics as Christ without Christ being said thing.
Without Christ being God, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Because we know that no one has ever seen God. This is why Christ says that if you look at me, you've seen the Father, because Christ is the image of the Father.
Mm-hmm.
He's his expression. And this is why I brought you to Hebrews 1:3. When I talk about the radiance and the thing that is radiant, we can even think of something like the sun. And you've already picked it up. You said that it just wouldn't have any light. Well, we know that God is light, so God always has light, and that light would be Christ.
Okay, so let's dissect this real quick because at the same time that whole light theory about
Hmm.
about Christ being light and things like that. Do you know where that story is originally from?
Well, and yeah, there will be many stories because there's only so many ways that humans can convey things. But when it
True,
comes to
true.
when I say light, I'm merely just expressing the idea of being able to perceive something.
Okay.
So anytime that Yahweh was seen in the Old Testament, that was going to be through his word. Anytime that God creates, that's going to be through his word. Um, everybody in the Abrahamic faith will hold to this, but where we differ is they think that the word is just a speech, whereas we think the word is a title attributed to the second person of the Trinity, which would be the Son of God.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we say that Christ is begotten of the Father, born you bringing up Mary, and we say that Christ is begotten of the Father, we just mean he proceeds forth from the Father, just as light proceeds forth from the sun.
Okay.
That's all we mean, bro. That's why Jesus is God. That's why Jesus is amazing. And our God came down and he died for our sins, bro, so that we could be free from anxiety and free from the pressures of the
Okay,
world. And
but you do realize you just contradicted yourself, right?
how, in which way?
Because you said earlier, you even agreed with it. You even agreed with
Hmm.
the whole theory that Jesus wasn't God.
No, Jesus, this is why he possesses those very same characteristics that he shares with God, as you said, because he is God by nature.
Then that would mean that we're all should be considered God by nature.
We can't be God by nature because we're created. The only way that anybody can have the divine nature is if they were eternal and therefore themselves being God. A created creature cannot be God.
But we are made in his image, correct?
When it
That means
says
we
his,
also share the same
and who
attributes, correct?
and who's his image?
I would say God's, not Jesus. Because
No, no, no,
the
Jesus
person
is
that's
the
being
image of
depicted as
God, though.
Jesus, and this was proven that the
Uh
person
huh.
being depicted as Jesus is not really Jesus. That person is Caesar Borgia.
But no, 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 bro. I don't
I'm
care
not
about
trying to
the.
argue. I'm not trying to argue.
I don't care about the white Jesus, the black Jesus depictions, bro. I can show you a Chinese Jesus. That's besides the point, bro. We know the real person existed, but that real person that existed, he is called the image of God, the image of the invisible God. So if we are made in the image of God, then we are made in the likeness of Christ. But that's only going to happen if you accept him. We were made in his image, but man fell. Adam fell. He corrupted the image. But instead of taking the canvas and making it blank again, God just cleaned it and repainted us, bro. The same exact image.
As he's done time and time again and throughout all of
He's
mankind.
only done it one time, brother.
So he didn't do it during the time of Moses. He
The
didn't do
lamb
it
was
during the time
slain
of
at
Noah.
the lamb was slain at the foundation of the earth, brother.
So he didn't do it during the time of Moses. He didn't do it during the time of Noah.
He did it before he even created Moses. Before Moses was even thought of by his mother, God has already redeemed the people, brother.
Okay, so what next? Since you want to continue the conversation about God,
I think everything turns back to God, especially when it comes to financial things, brother. Because when we know that God truly exists and we have no worries because our Father in heaven truly takes care of us. And as Solomon says, who was the wisest man who ever lived, he says that we're here today, gone tomorrow. We can have all the possessions of the world just like he did, bro. He had 700 wives. He had the kingdom. He had the
okay,
house.
and
He
look at
had the
how he
family, bro.
fell.
And
Look at
but do
how
you
King
know?
Solomon collapsed.
But do you remember what he said though? He said the only thing in this world that matters is that man has a relationship with his God because he collapsed. Yeah, he's a man. He dies, bro, and he's going to be judged by God. And you can spend your
Well, I'm
life
not
doing
just
all.
talking about him dying. I'm talking about how he was portrayed in the Bible as well. Because
I mean,
yeah,
because he's a fallen man.
yeah, he's had plenty of fucking wives.
Oh yeah,
700 concubines. Wait, 700
but
wives, 300 concubines. I believe his son had even more, or maybe a little bit less.
it may have, bro. I mean, but that's evil, bro. That stuff's vanity. That stuff's just here to make yourself look good and make you feel good, but it has nothing to benefit you. That was his whole point. I'm the wisest man, the richest man. I had everything that this world could offer, but I couldn't even find happiness. Couldn't find it until I found God. That's what he says, man. It's a wise man right there, brother. That's what I'm
That's true.
trying to
So
portray to
who's to
you.
say? So who would be to say that God is an energy? Because if you
Because
think about it, the whole entire the whole Abrahamic religion. Let me say it like that because it all stems from Abrahamic religion, Christianity, all that shit, right? So who's to
mm-hmm.
say that God is an energy? What
Is
we put
Jesus
out,
energy?
what we put out is what we get back.
No, is Jesus energy?
Possibly because the
No,
energy he put out.
Jesus is a person, bro. We know he's
But
a
yeah,
person.
and still, we all put out energy. We all
But
put out energy.
we don't. But that's just cause and effect, bro. I mean, that's just proving that the God exists. That there needed to be a mind, a rational mind, to make things move, bro.
Okay,
They
so
they energy just by chance just
with that being said, let's
yeah.
take it back to how this was all created.
Uh
So
huh.
let's take it from a scientific standpoint where we have the whole Big Bang theory. How did these two items, these not items, but atoms end up coming into existence and colliding?
Are you proposing that the Big Bang theory is true?
Possibly, possibly, man.
Underneath the Big Bang theory's hypothesis, does it have a beginning?
For the two atoms being created and colliding with each other, I believe that would be the beginning.
And
But here's the
and
thing.
who
Here's the
was the
thing.
move? Who was the mover? Remember when I said that it needs to be
But
moved, it needs to be transferred? Who made that happen?
we don't know.
It has to be a rational mind.
So what? Who or what would be this rational mind?
It would be God,
Okay, but here's the proof. Here's the
because
all
God.
right. So I can't
My
say
whole
here's the
point is
proof.
saying
So here's
rational
the thing
mind. My
about
whole
this.
point is saying, hold
How
up, bro.
is it that we all sit here and say, "Oh, we don't believe in God, but we believe in air, something else that we can't see"?
What do you mean you believe in air, bro?
So me sitting here saying I don't believe in God is like me saying I don't believe in air.
Oh, I agree 100%,
Me
bro.
sitting here saying uh, that the Big Bang Theory happened by God is like me saying that I don't believe in air or that I don't believe in
Amen,
air,
bro.
right? But
Amen. The
how
scripture
is it
says the fool
possible
says in his heart
that
there is no God.
this all powerful being, right? This all powerful being, God, whatever the
Mm-hmm.
hell you want, Yahshua, Yahweh, whatever the hell you want to call this guy, right? How are you
Mm-hmm.
sitting here saying that he created the Big Bang Theory and there's no proof? Matter
No,
of
he didn't.
fact,
He didn't. He didn't
let's
create the
go
Big
back and
Bang Theory.
prove to
I
me
would
that Jesus
disagree.
actually walked on water.
Prove to you that Jesus actually walked on water. In which sense? How am I? How would you? What would you deem as proof or evidence?
I don't know, maybe an actual photograph, but obviously they didn't have photographs back
A
then.
photograph. Come
Let's
on, bro.
say I'm being a little cynical right now.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, I'm being a little cynical, but that would be great. Aside from these stories that were told over
Well,
time and diluted over time, there will
how do you
be.
know?
I would love to build a fucking time machine and go back and see if
Well,
this
I
shit
mean,
was true or not.
I would too, bro. But how do you know that it's been diluted over time?
Because a lot of people think the way the Bible is supposed to be read in the New Testament is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and that's far from the truth. The way you're supposed
The
to read the New Testament of the Bible is Luke. You're supposed to read Luke first. That was
Oh,
the very first letter written.
there's no way to read the Bible, bro, because the Bible is just a compilation of a ton of books, bro.
Actually,
It's not
I'm
supposed.
speaking
I
of the
mean,
New
and
Testament.
honestly,
I'm
and if we're
speaking of the
being
New Testament. There is an actual way you're supposed to read the New Testament.
who
A
gave us
lot
the
of
New
people think it's
Testament?
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. No, you're supposed to read Luke first because that was the
Well,
very first letter that was sent to this person.
I would argue that the Bible's not for everybody to read.
And it's not because the stories in there for me it's very contradicting. The
Well,
Bible is very contradicting.
this is what I mean, brother. You say, and I can reason with you on the contradictions. Those are easy to put, but the Bible's not written to any of us, right? So if you and I are friends, bro, we know each other's lingo and jargon and our inside jokes, right? And
Right.
if we had somebody that knew us as well, I could write a letter to you, and they could read it, and they would understand what I meant by that letter. In the same sense, it's the same way with the Bible. We weren't around, so we have to respect the ones who do know that jargon, who do know that lingo, and can properly tell us what that letter means. And we have that. It's the same people that gave
Well,
us
the
the
letter was
Bible.
just an account of what happened through a perspective of one person, just like the
It
other
well,
Matthew, Mark,
it
John.
wouldn't have been because Luke wasn't even there to witness it.
Right, that's why I said perspective of another person. I didn't say perception.
Yeah. But you said Luke should be the first one we read, but why Luke?
That was the first letter sent to what the hell was it? What was it? Was it
Theophilus.
King something? This is his
Well,
name.
no, he wrote it to Theophilus, but
Theophilus.
it,
Yeah,
yeah. So, but what about like John?
John. I'm not too sure about. Hold on. Yeah, John. I'm not too sure about.
Eh, I mean, what about Paul? What about his letters?
The letters of Paul.
Uh huh.
Wouldn't that be oh damn, what's the name of that? What's the name of that book?
Oh, it's a ton of them. But do you know who those letters were written to? They were written to churches, like the one that was in
Yeah, they were written
Rome
to
to
different
the
churches,
Romans.
three or four different churches.
Yeah, the church of Philippi, Galatia, Corinth. So these churches, we know who received those letters, and they've interpreted the scriptures. They have the tradition. Even Paul says, "Don't go outside of what we have taught by word of mouth or written to you in letter." Well, we might have the letter, but we don't have the word of mouth part. But the church has the word of mouth part, and we can still go to the church today, the true apostolic church, not the westernized Christianity, not
The indoctrinated church. Yeah.
yeah, but the one true apostolic church that was established in 33 AD. we can go to them and see what these things mean. And a lot of things get cleared up. A lot of misunderstandings, and Christian philosophy just makes a man's life just way better, bro. Because once you understand life, you really move different.
Well, that you can say the same about any philosophy. Then you can
No,
say the
that's
same
not
about
true.
Stoic philosophy.
That's just why Christian philosophers refuted Stoics.
Okay, but again, you can say the same about Stoic philosophy. You can say the
But
same about
we refuted
African
them.
philosophy.
But we refuted them. Why do you think their philosophy is not taken serious today?
How can you say Stoic philosophy is not taken serious when Stoic philosophy is lived every single day?
Well, what about Aristotle, who took the Aristotelian philosophy?
Like Marcus Aurelius and all them too?
But
Epictetus?
I'm talking about in the world today.
Well, Aristotle, that was the famous astrologer, right?
Well, a philosopher.
Or philosopher.
Yeah.
We still practice his philosophies to this day.
Right.
Same
But
thing
why
with
not the
Marcus Aurelius.
Stoics?
Same thing with Epictetus.
Do you know that the church even adopted a lot of Aristotelian philosophy?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, dude, we've crushed everybody already, bro. There ain't nobody
But
left
that's
unless
just
you're a
it. You
liar.
can't say you technically crushed it if you adopted it in.
Oh, of course, we've crushed everything, bro. It's the impossibility of the contrary, bro, because philosophy is just true. Philosophy is just a way of understanding what God has done, bro, and knowing what is what, who I am and why I'm here, bro. That's for everybody. It's not just I mean, it's not just for pagans.
Right.
I mean everything comes from God. So we're just taking what people have used and said that, oh yeah, it could be a God, but it's not a God, and we make it holy and right and show you the revelation of God and what's true. And that's why we stomp on people, bro.
Hmm.
I would take it into consideration, my brother. Like I said, the only reason I came up is because you were talking about
Anxiety.
being anxious and stuff like that, and I know you said you believe in all these other religions as well, but yeah, I encourage you, bro, and I'll even follow you. We can have other conversations another time, but just give Christ a chance, man. Really look into it.
Oh
Look
no,
into the
I
church.
was raised as a Baptist Christian. I was raised as a
Amen.
Baptist Christian, and I would actually open my mind up to other religions. I practiced Hermeticism. I practiced Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism. I didn't take one of the other two routes. I wanted to take the traditional route. I've also practiced uh damn, what was I at? Theravada, Buddhism. Oh, Islam. Obviously, I practice Islam. Being a black man who hasn't practiced Islam, I practice being a Hebrew Israelite. Those are some angry motherfuckers. I'm not gonna lie. What else? Uh, I practice a lot of different religions, bro. A lot of them, a whole lot of them. But
No, yeah,
my whole thing about it was what's the real leverage here behind these religions? Because we all know religion is man made, right? So my whole
agreed.
thing is who actually benefits from how a religion is structured. Like who interprets it? Who holds authority? I mean, obviously, we all going to agree and say that God holds the ultimate authority. But here on earth, who actually holds the
The
authority
church.
to govern the people?
This is why
But
Christ said, "I give you the keys to bind." Well, the government. We're supposed to be subordinate to our governing nation, right? We're never supposed to govern ourselves. We're supposed to follow the law, but truly, we're in Christ's kingdom, and what we
that
wait
is true
for
because
is,
that is. I don't mean to interrupt, but I do want to piggyback
yeah,
and interject with what you're saying there. Because believe it or not, a lot of people don't know this, but a lot of people see that the church and state are supposed to be separate, right? But
mm-hmm.
the state literally incorporated a majority of the laws that we see today in its own black and white from the Bible. This country itself was literally built on the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a lot more into it than just that. I mean, that's into the Reformation of the church and a lot more than just built on the Bible. But I would argue with you if we're thinking truly built on the Bible and the laws of God, that's going to be intrinsic to our nature. That's already going to be ingrained in us. This is why Paul says that everybody knows what's right. Even though the Gentiles weren't given the law, they still know the law because the law is written inside them. These type of things.
Hmm.
So if laws are good, bro, they're good. But we only know that they're good because God would be that standard. And when laws are bad, we all can agree that they're bad, bro. We can
Oh
all
yeah, that's
agree.
a
But
fact because the majority of the laws out right now are literally just wild the fuck out. I mean,
oh
they're
yeah,
literally fucking some wild ass laws out here.
God's law is to love God with all your heart and to treat your neighbor as
As you love
yourself.
yourself. Yeah.
Yep. And even strictly says as Christ loves the church, and Christ didn't come here looking to judge anyone, condemn anyone, or even hurt anyone or do anything like that, bro. He was great to everybody. That's how we should be. And if our governing authorities were like that, bro, things would be different. But that's only more proof that Satan exists, bro.
I mean, I would say that he does, but it's also a way that some people would interpret it. So a lot of people understand that God was broken down for people, or the Father was literally given that word. The Father was given to people so they could understand how God actually is, because the Father is supposed to protect, provide, do all the other things the Father's supposed to do, right? But the only way they could really explain it back then was calling God the Father, right? So this is why I consider God to be energy. This is just my own thesis, not a thesis, more like a hypothesis. Well, yeah, kind of like an educated guess. So a hypothesis and maybe even a possible thesis that God is truly energy, because it literally goes back to Zoroastrianism. If you look at Zoroastrianism is way, way, way older than Comedicism, Christianity, Islam, any Mormonism, any of these other religions that's out here. It's considerably older than that. So at one point, they consider that what you think, whether it's positive or negative, what you think, what you you then act.
Therefore, I am.
No, what you think, you then act on. What you act on, you get that result. So if you think positive, you do positive actions. If you do something, do a positive action, you'll end up getting a positive result. And that goes back to the same thing from law of attraction. Law of attraction teaches you energy, frequencies, and things like that. So when whatever it is that you think on, you then begin to produce on. Whatever you produce on, you reap the benefits from that. This is why I came with the thesis and the hypothesis that maybe, just possibly, there is no Satan, there is no God. It's just energy, and whatever energy that we put out is what we reverb out into the universe, and it comes back to us.
Well, then is energy good or evil?
It depends on the person.
So what's the thing that divides them?
From an actual human psychology standpoint, I would say it would be thought process. It would be things that people consume, things that people speak, things that people actually consume, as what we all consume.
Well, what I'm saying is, right. Even without a mind, let's say humans don't exist. There would still be a principle of good and evil energy, right? Because it would be something that would have always existed.
Right.
So, what's the thing that divides it? For there to be good and evil, we must know the standard that we're looking at it. So that what this is where things get tricky.
Yeah, that's this is why I say it's kind of like a hypothesis or a thesis. So I think the thing that would divide it would be the person and their choices. Uh,
Oh,
I would have to say that it would have to be the person and their choices. If
okay.
we're
But
brought
remember,
up,
I said without a mind.
I know,
Remember, I
I know,
said
I know,
without a
I get
mind.
that, I get that. If we're brought up, right, and we see things to be a certain way, we would consider that to be good, right? Whether it's good or bad. So I think what would differentiate that would be the choices of saying, hey, this is wrong, let's do this instead, and see if it makes things better or worse.
Well, how do we distinguish from what a good choice is and what a bad choice is?
Well, that would have to be put into an actual experiment. Does it hurt somebody or does it help somebody?
Well, what are we defining as hurting somebody and why is it bad?
Well, if we're defining what hurts somebody, we have to sit there and say, well, does it cause them physical pain, emotional pain, or mental turmoil in any kind of way, or some sort of loss?
But
If
why
we
is
see
any of
it
that bad?
again, we I would say people would see that as bad because it's not a feel good feeling. But then again, you would have to consider, well, what do you consider to be a feel good feeling?
But is it
This
objectively bad?
I would say more subjectively.
Subjectively, so is it truly bad?
Depending on the person, again, it would depend on the person.
So it would depend on the person. And this goes for all things, right? It just depends on the person.
Yeah.
So if there was a person out there that wanted to grape children, if they
hmm
thought that was okay, that's okay, right?
Unfortunately, I would have to agree because they would think it's okay because for one, they say, "Hey, I got consent from the kid," or two, they were curious about it and wanted to try it, which would still lead back to consent. Me personally, I do not condone that shit whatsoever.
No,
Make
I know
that
you.
clear.
I know you don't, bro. I know
Yeah,
you don't.
yeah,
I'm
I
not
do
saying you
not
would,
condone that shit.
and I actually kind of applaud you. You're probably the first honest person that says yes, bro. A lot of people find that really hard to answer, but in this perspective that you have, that would be true. It's not necessarily bad, isn't that like, bro? Like not good, bro? Isn't that kind of evil? Like there's no justification for why that person's wrong. Like how can we even do anything about it? Why should this person be charged?
Well, for one, with all the technology that we have now, we know for a fact that a child's mind is not fully developed. We know that a child's organs are not fully, a child's body, not just organs alone, are not fully developed. So that is where they would differentiate of what would make it good or bad. Because now, back then, mind you, they didn't have all this technology that they
But
have today.
I get you though, but I'm just talking objectively. It's either truly bad or it's truly not bad, and that's a true dichotomy. It can't be either or.
Well, you do have
You
a point.
you and I both know it's bad, bro.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
both
We
know it's bad.
inherently, we know it's bad.
Yeah, and the people that do it, they know it's bad too, bro.
I would have to disagree because if they
Mm-mm.
don't see it, if they know it's bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
I honestly believe that they wouldn't partake in the
Well,
thing. They
let's
wouldn't
let's
partake
sim-
in it.
let's simplify this, bro. Uh, is lying bad?
Technically, it depends on the situation. This
I
has
agree. Let's talk about the normative sense. In the normative
now in a
sense, is
normative
lying
sense,
bad?
yes. In a normative sense,
Okay.
yes. Lying
In
is bad.
in
Yes,
the
lying is
normative
bad.
sense, do people still participate
Absolutely,
and they know it's wrong?
absolutely.
Yeah, this is what it means that God wrote the law on our hearts, bro, because we all know what right and wrong is. But us as men who are truly evil have that fallen nature, as God says, that we're just truly evil. We just do whatever the heck that we like. And we even have, like, as the church, it teaches that men are the ones who devise the evil. And as time's gone on, bro, we just gotten more and more wicked.
That's true. That is very true. That is very fucking true. I mean, look at everything that's going on, not just in this country, but across the world in itself right now, man. It's absolutely fucking insane.
And this is what the Bible tells us, bro, is that God can't be around none of that, bro. But God is also just, right? He shows no partiality with men. And so someone who's out here doing all the most extreme thing that you could think of to lying, he holds us all accountable equally. And he sent his son to keep us from receiving that what we deserve, bro. That's why it's fantastic that Jesus came, man. Truly, like truly, because we're really in danger, bro, and it's because of our fallen nature and how sick we are with our free will. And God loves everybody
Mhm.
so much. This even is why God doesn't intervene when bad things happen, because it's not for God to intervene. It's for us to be responsible and choose good, choose to be like God instead of being lackluster, bro, decrepit. But men only want to be God themselves, bro. They use people. They only do things that benefit themselves. They
That
don't love
goes
other
into free
people.
will. That
That
goes
goes
into
in
free will.
that goes into free will, and this is why Christ calls us to be different. He says to be the ones who act like him. That's why God came, because he's done told Israel so many times how to be like God, and they rejected him. And he said, all right, you rejected me. I'm going to come down and I'm going to show you how to do it. This is why Christ says that I have fulfilled the law. This is why he was a perfect man, because he showed us the way that it was possible, one, for a man to do it, and that all we have to do is love God to do it. And he came to free us from those bonds, that way that we're even capable to do it through him.
Okay.
I'm just proposing Jesus to you, man. Give it
Oh
another
yeah,
chance. Look,
Yeah,
and
I know
share.
exactly what you're doing. I know exactly what you're doing.
And if you, I mean, if you truly, I don't want to take up all your time, but if you truly have doubts, bro, I mean, I'm willing to dialogue with you, have a conversation with you. If you're like, hey, this don't make sense to me, like this is a contradiction, uh, I'll walk through all those things with you, bro, and we can have good faith conversation and see if it like it starts making sense. And I can even show you historically, because I was just like you. I mean, I started looking into other religions as well, and I've dove into the ancient ones, and I can pretty much show you that the Bible's true with the ancient religions. And I think that's what attests to the scripture the most is that God is one for everybody, but God truly exists and he's been communicating with us and we have knowledge of him. And it is Yahweh who it was this whole time. And that was Jesus Christ.
I feel it. I definitely feel that where you're coming from with that. Let's see. There's anybody in the chat? No, nobody in the chat right now. All right. Well, that was actually a great talk. I did enjoy that talk. I really did, man.
Yeah,
I
bro.
wasn't.
I'm gonna follow you.
Yeah, I appreciate the follow. I really do. I got some other things going on, so definitely appreciate the follow. Make sure to share some things on there, like, comment, do all that stuff. I got a YouTube. It's on there, so it's all there, man.
God bless you, brother. Take it easy, man.
Likewise, brother. God bless, man.